Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the next episode of the Huddle, a black and gold podcast with your host with the most, Mr. Gage. Ryan, how you doing, Gage?
Oh, I'm just great. That's my co-host Ron. Ron, how are you, pal?
Oh man, I'll tell you what, it's like every day we keep getting closer and closer to football season, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's almost in the wind, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
we're almost there, we're almost there. It's like we got
you're getting the slight chill at nighttime that lets you know that football season is fast encroaching.
I mean, isn't it exciting about I mean the whole I look thank you all very much for tuning in and checking us out, man. We are the Huddle Black and Gold podcast. This is a RNJ Media Sports presentation. Thank you all very much for tuning in and checking us out. If you like what we do, please smash that like and subscribe button. We would really appreciate that. Especially with Pittsburgh Steelers season upon us here. After preseason week 2 last evening at Acrisure Stadium,
A
which
trouncing at the hands of the New York Jets.
okay, I mean, okay. We're going to talk a little bit about that, and we're going to talk a little bit about a bunch of other things too, because we talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. Trouncing. At some parts, the defense looked okay. I mean, not everybody was in. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like you still didn't
Mm.
see, Joey Porter, and still didn't see, but you got to see Patrick Queen, you got to see Herbig, you got to see, um, you know, some other folks play a little bit of time there in the first part of the game, the first oh, first half or so of the first quarter. You saw some
Yeah, just
number
getting their feet
ones.
wet, so to speak.
Yeah, you saw some of the number ones on offense and defense. You saw some of, but you didn't
Hmm.
see, Aaron Rodgers or even, Mason Rudolph out there playing, and you didn't see T.J. Watt or Alex Highsmith or anybody like that. So
I think it was the right call to. I'd really there was nobody that played leaps and bounds more than I would have wanted them to. So, I take no issue with that. I don't want Aaron playing. There's no reason for him to play. I thought that the quarterback situation was pretty well handled this week, where they just said we're going with the young guys. We know what Mason is. We know what Aaron is. Let's just get the two young whippersnappers in there and have them throw the rock a little bit. I was cool with that. I was happy with it. And Will Howard didn't do great. Drew did okay. He did better than Will. And he had that amazing pass, like where he was like drifting off to the left side and kind of threw it like at this awkward angle, and it just dropped into the bucket. It was sensational. That just shows you the talent, man. I know, like, if you want to I don't know if you want to transition this from necessarily the game to Drew Allard talk right away, but I mean, just man, the kid's got talent. It was never ever the talent part was never the part of the equation that people took issue with the Drew Allard pick. That's
right.
certainly for sure. That was
Yeah,
evident.
it was his mechanics. It was his fundamentals. It was his, how are you dropping back? How are you planting your feet when you throw? Are you going through the proper throwing motions? Blah 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 blah. I liked the rollouts that he did. That's part of the McCarthy offense is that design rollouts for quarterbacks. So you saw Will Howard doing it as well
Yeah.
too. Plus, that gives sometimes guys a little bit more options. Opens up other things and other areas where you'll see misdirections and things like that. So I like how that's going, where you can actually start getting more of the one-on-one matchups with tight ends and stuff like that, especially if you motion out to that way or something like that. So I'm liking what I'm
Splitting the
seeing.
field in half, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm liking what I'm seeing there. I have to say, in the 2 games so far, what I've seen from Broderick Jones.
I saw him give up a couple of big pressures. I saw him give up a sack or two. I don't want to say he looked necessarily terrible or anything, but like he looked good for coming back from a potentially career-ending injury. That's definitely for sure. But I
Right.
worry for him.
Okay.
Admittedly, I worry for him.
Okay. I do too, but not as horrible as I was expecting it to be. I mean, there was quite a few penalties in game one, which is expected, but much cleaned up
Yeah.
this week. There was very few of those dumb penalties, pre-snap penalties, things like that. And if he can just stay consistent with that, Broderick Jones, if he could just stay consistent with that, you know what I mean, and continue to evolve, I really do think he could be that left tackle. But it's going to be, how is he going to be able to handle it, especially on a week to week basis now with his injury coming back from that, and with the competition in the league these days, especially on that side of the ball. I mean, that's a big ask. That's a big ask. So we'll see how that goes, right?
Yeah, and I mean, I like the crew we've assembled. Just speaking, I guess broadly, is like no pun intended. But but I like the crew we've assembled here. I don't think there's any like real like gaping holes in the roster that I think are just absolutely unattainable at any point during the season. Like I feel like we're okay. I feel like we have a solid group of men here. the it's just a matter of ceiling. You know what I mean? And I got more enjoyment out of seeing the guys that aren't going to be on the field come this season than I would have by seeing the starters. But I mean, such is life in the preseason, right?
And that's the other thing too, and that's something that we even talked about before we got on the show was, just how much stock are you really putting in the preseason?
Yeah,
Because of
zero.
uh, because of how well or not so well Will Howard played in the last two games so far. Game one was
Mhm.
kind of mediocre. Game two, not so much.
Mhm.
But then again, you got to make that point where the guy didn't have any last year. You know what I mean? Like, he had absolutely zero snaps last year because of his injury. So I mean, what are you gonna do? So he's bound to have some of those mistakes. He's bound to have some of those deficits in his game just because he hasn't been on the field.
Yeah, and I mean, like, there's no amount of recreation that makes up for live snaps. And I mean, they say the same thing about preseason. There's no amount of preseason that gets you ready for regular season snaps. But I mean, it goes especially for like the COVID era quarterbacks, right, where they didn't get any time to mesh with their team. You saw them struggle, like to kind of get out of the gate. Like it, that really is part of it. Like I know that there's a lot of like the people that are all about like the meat and potatoes of football, about like it's talent and coaching, and it's like yes, but these other things that aren't really measurable, like camaraderie with teammates and chemistry and all that, that all has to be taken into factor, and you don't really, or into account rather, and you don't really get that, like at least to the point where it translates to on-field results without getting on the field. I know it's super obvious to say, but it's just the truth.
And that's the other thing too, because the best way to get good at playing football is to to play football. I mean,
Yeah.
duh,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of is like, that's like the elephant in the room.
You know
Like,
what's
hey,
ironic
how
though
do you
is
get
that it's
better?
not the same. Well, but it's not like that for every sport. That's what's interesting, is that with football it is that simple. You have to play it or else you just, but
Well,
like it's not like that
you
in
can't do that
in
with hockey either, right? Like, you can't have, like, because preseason, and they've even reduced the amount of preseason games in the NHL too, right? So it's the same thing, right? They don't
Mhm.
play the stars in the preseason. You don't see the big guns up there playing. You see all the young guys out there playing, you know what I mean? Trying to get minutes, trying to, impress coaches and blah, 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 stuff like that, right? That's kind of what the
Yeah.
preseason's for.
Yeah, and I mean, like, but the idea of like getting on the field and having to make sure, like, it doesn't always apply to every sport. Like with
Right.
mixed martial arts, which is my other favorite sport, is like just this idea of like there are guys that love to spar and think that the best way to do it is to get inside the cage in their local gym and just spar as much as they can. And like that's all well and good, but their careers usually don't last very long. And like there's this idea of like you actually have to, there were fighters that for a long time, at least I know he's gone back on it since, but for like years and years, a guy like Max Holloway never ever sparred, never. and he was arguably the best in the world. So it's funny how these things like don't translate to every single sport. Whereas with football, there's absolutely no two ways about it. You cannot film study your way into being a great football player single-handedly. You need to get on the field.
I mean, I get it when in Little Giants, all the football stars came off the bus to help the Little Giants, and they said, yeah, the game is 90% mental and 10% physical. Well, not quite so much there, guys. It's a little bit more cerebral than that, but it's a lot physical.
I don't remember they were talking about boxing or if it was fighting in general, but I always remember an old-timey quote from those days that was like, fighting is 90% mental and the other 10%'s in your head.
I mean, okay, right? So, but in football, it's physical. You have to be out there doing it. It's the same thing in hockey. You can't just phone it in. You know what I mean, right? You can't just film study your way and then, okay, yeah, you work out. No, you got to be out there skating. And, it's funny because you see these young kids that are trying to get to the NHL and there's no off season for them, right? They are just, even during the summertime, they're doing training regimes. They're working with special trainers. They're in the gym. They're working on their skating. They're working on their shooting. I mean, they're doing stuff during the summer, during the off season, to try to get better. So
the off season is for fans at this point. It's not for the players.
Okay, right? Exactly. So
there is no off season to a lot of these guys.
I have to say though that I really have been look, I got to watch Drew Aller play all 3 years in Penn State. And all I kept saying was, gosh, man, imagine if he had some talent around him. Gosh, imagine if he had some receivers. Gosh, imagine if he had some this. Imagine if he had some that. Because the kid's got talent. The kid's got some smarts. I mean, he knows how to play the position. You know what I mean? I don't know. I mean, you're just not seeing a lot of, Penn State's not the hotbed of quarterbacks.
No, I don't think have they had one ever succeed at a mass scale in the NFL? Because I'm trying to think, and like
Kerry Collins made it to the Super Bowl and lost.
That's right. Kerry was decent. Yeah.
Right. Todd Blackledge ended up playing for Kansas City for a number of years, and then he became a broadcaster, and now I think he's doing Penn State games now, right? Like for TV.
So so the track record's a little bit like Ohio State, where there's like a couple of drops here and there, but not a whole lot. But
well, there's more quarterbacks I think that have come out of Ohio State, because the only other one that came out was Michael Robinson, and he didn't play quarterback in the NFL. He played like flanker, tight end, wide receiver type with the Seahawks. Okay, so
who was that other kid? I think he played for Penn State. I might be wrong. Was it Christian Hackenberg? I think he played for Penn State.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, they've been
and
drafted.
He was on the Jets, so
yeah, right. They're they've been drafted, but they just never. Yeah. They're not. Penn State doesn't develop an NFL quarterback because their system is not an NFL system.
Yeah, I've heard that. Okay. I've heard that they're also a little bit of a 500 Tomlin-ish kind of style of team currently. I don't know if that's true or not. That's what I've heard.
Well, we're going to see with the new coach, right? Because Franklin's out. That whole regime is gone. So now we're going to see I don't know, man. I think we're going to see potentially this needs to be an interesting year for Penn State, because last year with Drew Aller, and they were coming back off of that really good run, almost making it to the national title game, one game away from that. And then Drew Aller gets hurt in like the third or fourth game of the season, and then that was it for Penn State. Wheels came off. Right? Franklin got fired, blah, 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 the whole 9 yards, right? So now we got new coaching staff, new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator. Okay, here we go again.
Change all around here in the woody state of Pennsylvania.
In the central part of the state.
Sure. Yeah, no, my Army Black Knights don't even start playing until September 5th, so I'm a little tilted about that. I
I
want to
mean,
see
there
what
you
they
go,
do.
right? So,
Yeah.
speaking of which, I know we don't put a lot of stock in this, but preseason and everything else like that, but I really think that Drew Allar's winning the race.
Oh yeah, easily. I think that he was already probably favored by the coaching staff. I think if they like you enough to spend a third round pick on you and tell you, forget everything you've ever learned, we're going to teach you from the start. You don't do that unless you believe pretty heavily in a guy's talent. So Will Howard was already kind of behind the eight ball as he's been his entire NFL tenure. And this bad performance definitely didn't help things. I still wouldn't cut him. I'd cut Rudolph before I would cut either of those guys, just for the fact that, like, really, are you getting Rudolph is a good backup. He might be one of the better backups in the league, but I just don't find him enticing.
Well, here's the thing, right? If that's going to be the case, if you're going to keep Allar, then that basically is going to spend the end of Will Howard or relegate him to the practice squad, because I have a feeling that McCarthy's going to roll with Rudolph as number 2,
He
okay?
probably will.
And if the tires fall off of that, then we'll see Drew, right? So
Yeah.
although he's going to make the roster this year, I don't think he's going to get any snaps in the regular season unless we're down to the third string quarterback, and then even then they're let's
By
not hope
that
for
point, what are
that.
you really doing in that season? Yeah, you're at your Duck Hodges by that point.
I mean, exactly. So the other one I want to talk about is Caleb Johnson. Okay.
Mhm.
Um Now he was what was
Practice
he,
squad.
third round pick for
Yeah,
Tomlin, right? For a running
yeah.
back. And then
Holy airball.
and then in his rookie year barely saw the field.
And every time he did see the field, he fumbled his guts out.
Or something. Okay.
It was like I swear he had, like, let's call it 4 or 5 returns, roughly speaking. 4 or 5 was probably more than that. I don't know, and I don't really care. So,
I
but
mean,
every
right.
time I saw this guy on the field, he would either muff the kick or fumble. Like when he got hit, I know that it happened, and I think it cost us. I could be wrong, but I think it cost us 2 games this past year. And I'm just, if it happens once, look, you got to swallow that. You got to get better, and you got to show that you belong. You know, the Santonio Holmes kind of thing. Remember, Santonio fumbled his first punt and then took a second one for a touchdown. You got to be able to do that. You got to be able to bounce back. And once he did it, like basically the next kickoff after that, I was like, okay, all right, I'm done. Throw him on the practice squad. I don't need to see anymore. That's way too soon, honestly. I'm being way too impatient, but I don't care.
When you got the likes of the electric meatball and who they
Yeah,
added in the off season and free agency, as soon as they did
Rico.
that, as soon as they added Rico, I pretty much knew that Caleb Johnson's days were numbered for the Steelers.
Thank God.
And they said he hasn't had a really good camp either, and it's like, oh, I don't think you're even going to see practice squad with him.
I, you know, he was a good talent. He was a good talent, but I just,
In
sometimes that's
college,
just what happens in college.
in
In college,
college, right? I mean, it doesn't always translate, and that's just the nature of the beast, right? It doesn't always translate. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll give you a perfect example. Mitch Trubisky was a great
jeez.
quarterback in college, but that game did
Was
not
he though?
translate. Not, I mean, he was a much better quarterback in college than he ever was in the pros.
That's definitely true.
Okay,
Yeah,
and
he
that's
was he
what
was a
got
ga
him elevated to where he was drafted.
the pro comp that a lot of people gave him back in those days was like Matt Ryan, that he was going to be this like cerebral, accurate cutter of defenses, and like holy airball guy that had that kind of draft eval, and Mitch definitely needs to reevaluate some things of his own.
Like, you notice that those people that drafted him in Chicago are no longer there.
Long gone.
Gee, I wonder why.
Let's be fair, though, and say that they probably would have ruined Mahomes or Watson, too.
Okay, but there are certain guys, certain players that it doesn't really matter where you put them, they're going to come out on top. Do you know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
feel that
Yeah.
Mahomes is one of those types of guys that it wouldn't have mattered where he played. He would have came out on top, and he would have forced the team that he was on to try to get better by building around him. You see what I mean? So that's the thing. That's why I don't necessarily say look, a player can come to a team, one player can come to a team and be that good that okay, we need to build around this guy and try to keep him here. Otherwise, he's going to go somewhere else. You know what I mean? So,
like, well, with Mahomes and the Chicago comparison, talking about that one specifically, like I can't remember who was in charge of Mitch's quarterback development. I can't remember that, and so that would play a key role in how we would kind of determine this. But the last good quarterback, last legitimately good quarterback Chicago ever had was during the 1940s, if I'm not mistaken. So the big thing about Mahomes, I think Mahomes is arguably the greatest quarterback of all time. That's my opinion. In terms of like what the guy can do, he's an alien. And like I know he's settled down into more of a game manager role, but in terms of talent, being able to throw the ball wherever he wants, I don't think there's anybody better than that guy. But the big X factor about that were his mechanics, which were, a mess in college. And the question is, would they have been able to reel that in? If they were able to reel that in, then he would have been off to the races in Chicago as well. But if they couldn't, I think it would have been an absolute disaster fest, and we would have never heard about Mahomes.
well, the fact that he got to be under Andy Reid.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
If he was under
That's Mike Tyson finding Customato. You know what I'm saying? That's the perfect, like, we got it.
That's what I mean, right? If he was under any other coach, I don't know. I don't know how he would. Speaking of coaches, there's something that we saw the last 2 weeks now in a row, right? This is what we got to see from Mike McCarthy that we haven't seen in what 15 years, right? We got to see a pen in the hat, right? We got to see he was reading he was doing this, he was covering his face so you couldn't see what he was saying.
We saw something that wasn't.
Yeah, right. Come on, we got to see, like, I don't know, coaching. Whether good or bad,
It was good to see. It was good to see, and I mean, like Mike McCarthy, excuse me, is like known as being a very solid X's and O's kind of guy, and so it's good to see that it's good to see that he kind of adapts to the whatever quarterback he is in. I don't think he was necessarily running the offense the exact same way that he's going to run it with Aaron whenever he gets under center.
Correct.
I think that's cool. Yeah, I think that's cool, and he's adaptable. Go ahead.
The fact that you said he's running the offense.
Yeah.
What? Say that again. Just say it again.
He's running the offense.
Oh my!
No, and
no, wait, oh my! Wait, hold on.
No, and like
no, hold on. No, wait a minute. Wait a minute. I gotta sit down. Oh wait, I am. Did you say? Did you say that the head coach was running the offense? That's what you said, right?
Here's my hanging up point. Here's my point about that. Is like, here's the problem, was that I didn't care about Mike Tomlin delegating offense to other coordinators. That didn't bother me one bit. A ton of coaches do that. That's not the issue. The issue is that his philosophies were still imprinted in whatever coordinate. Like, it doesn't matter if it was Todd Haley, I don't think. It doesn't matter if it was Finkner. It doesn't matter if it was Matt Canada. It doesn't matter if it was any of these guys, Arthur Smith. It doesn't matter, because what they would do is they're still running it on 2nd and 10. They're still running it on 2nd and 12. They're still going to be throwing those out routes to the boundary over and over and over and over again. They're still going to be avoiding the middle of the field. They're still going to avoid calling certain that it didn't matter who they brought in because their philosophies were exactly the same, because it's the way Mike Tomlin wanted to run the offense. And by the way, if it comes out that I'm wrong and we come out this season and we look exactly the same and there's no changes at all, then we know that it's Art Rooney and the way he wants to run it. But I'm willing to bet that it was a lot of it was Mike Tomlin's philosophies. But I guess we'll see. That's the fun thing, is that we get to find out here in a couple weeks. What if we just come out and start putting up 35 points a game and like Aaron Rodgers looks like MVP for him? Be like, what the?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Hit the record scratch on that one. Like, wait a minute. Hold on a minute. Did you say?
I've done a whole off season of like tapering my expectations, and then Aaron Rodgers wins like a 5th MVP. Be like, I don't know what to think anymore. Forget it. That'd be fun.
But you did bring up a really good point there about how this team has to go and in which direction they have to go. You know what I mean? And you can't just whether this team is going to be good or bad. Okay? I've like throttled my expectations of where I think this team is going to be, just because it's a completely brand new coaching staff. For the most part, it's all the way through new coaching staff, new training staff, new, strength conditioning, the whole 9 yards, right? All new. Okay.
New bathroom attendant.
Okay. Right. You know what I mean? The new guy that picks up the bubble gum off the side of the sideline, or whatever. Right. So all new staff, and now that's going to mean all new language, all new everything. You know what I mean? And yeah, Aaron Rodgers is familiar with it. That's all fine and great, but he's the only one.
Yeah. This will be a good testament to how well Rodgers can kind of impart that wisdom on younger players. If like when Brady brought his New England Belichick ball control offense down with him to Tampa Bay with him, after the Arians deep ball stuff wasn't really working, like he was able to kind of impart that and say, okay, here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to change it. And if Rodgers can do that, I think that that's a mark in his favor, certainly. If he can't, though, then I think that a lot of his bad leader allegations might resurface again. So that'll be another, no joke, that'll actually be an interesting, I guess, mini storyline for this year, is like how well Aaron Rodgers can tutor the young bucks. He did it okay last year.
I mean, we'll see.
Why was Freiermuth in the doghouse, though? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, right. Like, I don't get it, right? But one thing I did see, though, was last week's game, or the first game, Drew Aller was congratulated by his ex-Penn State buddy Freiermuth. Came over to him and gave him a little pat on the shoulder there after he scored that touchdown there. I mean, if that's any indication of how good we're going to see Drew Aller, man, I can't wait to see him play with the ones, right? So my concern is going to be with the running back room, because quite frankly, I don't think Caleb Johnson's going to make it. I think there's going to be some guys, on the fringe in defense too. I mean, we're soon coming down to, got to be down to 53 guys here soon, right? Like within 2 weeks or something like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and the final preseason game is like your last hurrah. So.
Yeah, and there's only 3 now. You got to make them count more.
Exactly. So, all right, I want to throw a question out here at you, and I just want to kind of gauge your reaction on this a little bit. Get it? Gauge your reaction. Huh. Mm-hmm. Okay, all right, sorry. Anyhow, I've noticed that Cincinnati has been playing their starters more in the regular season.
In the preseason?
In the preseason, I'm sorry. Playing starters in the preseason.
Right.
for Cincinnati.
Right.
What do you think about that, man? Do you think that's
The
all right?
injury prone
Judging
team
by
is
what you
taking
just did, all right, never mind, we're good.
the injury prone team is making injury prone decisions and not I'll tell you what, I for one am shocked that Cincinnati is not listening to and is not protecting their star quarterback. This has definitely never happened before in the history of Cincinnati ever. I'll tell you what, Cincinnati falling apart just like their football team is rather fitting, though, I must say. God, I love joking about Cincinnati. It's just, I've been to Cleveland. It's fine. It's a town, I guess. Like, I've been to Columbus. Columbus is a nice place and whatnot. Cincinnati, stay far away. And their football team, like letting their star quarterback get killed year after year is, I think,
right.
a pretty good encapsulation of a lot of that.
I have never had the privilege and honor of being to the Cincinnati. I've never been to Cincinnati. Yeah, right. Never been there. I've been to real close to Cleveland. I as a Steelers as a black and gold bleeder, like I can't even get off the exit that says Cleveland. Like I am not kidding. My wife's family lives in Chicago, right? And I will drive by Cleveland or I will stay in Wheeling, Ohio before I stay in Cleveland and then drive past Cleveland the next day on my way to Chicago.
Understandable.
I mean,
Totally
it's
understandable.
just a thing. I don't know. I if there's just something about the air in that little area, I guess for me, I don't know. But I mean, the fact that I have to go to Ohio, period, to go to or to go to the Hall of Fame, like just going to Ohio already, just kind of like, yeah, no.
But I feel to get back to your question, like I feel for Joe Burrow. I really do, because it feels like he has just been like he's just been screwed over by his defense time and time again. But the one time that he got the chance to get a ring, I think he had 5 possessions at the end of that game and didn't score a touchdown on any of them.
Right.
So the whole Joey Burr Iceman thing, I'm not sure if that holds as much weight as people think that it does, but he's an amazing quarterback. There's no denying that. He's definitely pretty much the only good thing about that team. I mean, yeah, his receivers, yeah, fine. But I want to say, so I feel like this all ties back to Burrow. That's why I keep mentioning him, is because he had this whole speech that he gave, or not speech, but someone had asked him on one of these media days about it's now or never. I'm tired of saying next year. I'm tired of saying we'll be better next year and we'll be back. Like it's a Super Bowl this year or nothing is basically what he said. And to me, what that translates to is, get your stuff together before I leave. And it just feels like the Carson Palmer stuff all over again. But I feel like they're starting their guys in the preseason almost as this all right, we're getting to work now, as this change of attitude maybe. But I think that when you have a guy like Burrow who's getting injured year after year and a line that doesn't protect him year after year, I feel like you have a better chance of him being Mark Sanchez than you do inspiring something in the team deep down.
Wow, man, that's pretty cut, man. Whew. All right. And I kind of feel the same. I mean, when you look at what Cleveland's been doing as well, it almost seems like they're cutting off their own. Like every time they take a step forward, they cut that off and take 3 steps backwards.
I mean, cutting their nose to spite their face, kind of thing.
Yeah, but I mean, every time they take 1 step forward, all right, we got this, and then no. Then they take 2 steps back, right? The only other team,
Deshaun Watson.
No comment. Right. Okay. Right. 2 steps backwards.
No, that's he has to take the starts, man. That's another part of their 2 steps back thing. That's why I mentioned it. Is he has this contract that is just so suffocating and all encompassing that they basically don't have a choice but to start the guy to try to find some kind of value in it. So they're screwed, 6 ways from Sunday. Good for them.
Like I said, they keep cutting themselves off, man. It's Yeah, we did something good. Well, let's hack off our hand that did that good thing so that it never does something good again. We can't have anything good in Cleveland. No. Oh, okay. I mean, do you think Pittsburgh has
After
done enough?
what?
Do you think Pittsburgh has done enough to be able to get back to where they were last year?
Yes, actually.
Really?
I think that I think that we are basically the same team. I don't really think that we're all that different. If we went 7-10, I wouldn't be surprised. If we went 10-7, I wouldn't be surprised. Like it's we're in the same ballpark, and
Okay.
I don't like. There's a chance that Aaron gets injured or Aaron and Mike have another breakdown because let's not forget how their relationship ended last time. What exactly has changed since then? Just saying. So there's a chance that like the wheels completely fall apart, but I don't think they're going to. I really don't. So I think that we're at pretty much the same place we were last year. I don't think anybody takes us past the wild card, and I don't think anybody took us past the wild card last year either at the start of the year.
Right. So you see,
What about you?
this is where I'm this is where I'm having my problems here because I don't think that Aaron Rodgers moves the needle.
Not at an elite level. He's the best quarterback we have, but I don't think he gets us to a Super Bowl.
Like I said, you already said it, Gage. You already said it. They're basically the same team they were last year. Bringing Aaron Rodgers back doesn't move the needle. Putting Mike McCarthy as coach doesn't move the needle.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Now, did they bring in a couple guys? Yeah, they brought in Rico and they brought in, Pittman and stuff like that. And they're going to try and give Joey Porter a contract and this, that, and everything else. And Cam Hayward's coming back for his, 200th season or something now? What is he?
Something like that.
16th season now, right? Okay. And I mean, the cat's still
Still
playing.
playing at an elite level somehow.
So keep coming back, buddy. We'll keep paying you, man. Keep on coming back, right? We'll keep paying you, man. Captain Cam, we'll take you, buddy. We'll take you. But it just doesn't feel like they've moved the needle at all.
The moves that we had this offseason, getting Mike McCarthy, bringing back Aaron Rodgers, all of them, it all ties back to Art Rooney's crippling phobia of change. That's why he brought in Mike McCarthy, because he wouldn't change anything. And he knew that like it would basically be the same tier of coach. We would be in the same kind of record. When I guarantee you, I would bet my left arm that when Art is gone,
The whole arm?
that when AR2 is the whole arm, all the way up into the shoulder, to the nub.
Ooh.
But it's the idea that when Art is gone, that AR2, when he's gone, he is going to talk about how like every year we had at least 9 wins or 10 wins, and every year we were in the hunt, and every year we were in the mix. And that is garbage and not true at all if you actually watch the Steelers play. There were plenty of years where we could eke to that 9-8 instead of like actually just biting the bullet and rebuilding a little bit. That's all going to be marketing. It's going to be more marketing, and I think that's why the McCarthy hire happened. I think that I heard guys like Brett Coleman who mentioned that he thinks that like this is basically a bridge coach, if you will. Like you have a bridge quarterback that like I don't think McCarthy's going to be here for 15 years or anything. That's probably fair, but I think that he's having him band-aid his last couple of years as the owner and operator of the Steelers, so that he can kind of go out on that note of I always kept him competitive. And I think we're a couple years away from actually getting our real like long-term coach.
Let me say this to you. If his grandfather were alive right now, he would smack him in the face because of how he
Turning over in his grave.
how he has changed the culture in Pittsburgh. Look, I know I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for this, but you know what? Tomlin came in and said the standard is the standard, and yet he couldn't stand up to the standard. He couldn't live up to the standard. He couldn't maintain the standard. The standard was started by the Chief and Chuck Noll and the Steelers of that era. That was what the standard was. That meant that you won the division regularly. You made it to the championship game regularly. You made it to the Super Bowl 25% of the time. Okay, right? So you go to 4 championship games, you're going to the Super Bowl, one of them. Right?
I have a video coming up on 5 Star in a few weeks, so I'll avoid repeating myself as best I can here. But I always mention that, like, 93.7 The Fan, that they mentioned how Tomlin had an A to A plus first 5 years, but then became kind of a C to C plus coach that lived off those first 5 years. And 3 playoff wins through the last 15 years. That's not a lot. That's not a lot, and that's not a standard that you've kind of held up to. I think that's fair to say. I think the words kind of bit him in the ass a little bit on that one.
Which is why I said he couldn't live up to the standard. Okay. And now you bring in a guy who what? Like,
can I mention something before we get into the McCarthy
please
thing real quick?
Yeah.
That like Mike Tomlin, do you want to know what I think the problem was? Like, actually, is that Mike Tomlin was never, bear with me here because I'm trying to compliment him, but I'm also trying to point out what's going on here. I really do think that Mike Tomlin, did you notice that his defenses, they started to decline in quality pretty quickly after the players' safety initiative. After the Steelers had that 2010 defense where they were just decapitating people and suplexing Vince Young on his head, and that stuff shouldn't be in the game. I'm actually kind of on the NFL side on that one, but I don't think it's a coincidence that once that came in, like, Mike Tomlin's scheming was never this like elite complicated defense, but it was the fact that if you threw the ball over the middle, Ryan Clark was going to decapitate you. So it had its own dangers, even if it wasn't super complex. But once that got taken away, we can't hit people hard now. And now all of a sudden we're just kind of left with subpar scheming and rah-rah speeches. You know what I'm saying?
I do kind of see what you're saying, but I'm going to go a different route. And the reason why I think the defense is completely and utterly dropped off the cliff was when Dick LeBeau retired.
Yeah, that's definitely part of it.
Because if you recall, when Mike Tomlin was hired, Dick LeBeau was actually in the running to be the head coach.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think a lot of people
he was.
Wiz.
Okay, or Russ Grimm, okay, but he was potentially right. So he's potentially, and then they went with Mike Tomlin completely off the reservation, right? And the whole thing of it is that Rooney said that, okay, you're going to be head coach, but this Hall of Famer guy right here is going to remain the defensive coordinator.
Listen to him.
Okay, and in Mike Tomlin's first 5 years, he had
he had
right, he had Hall of Famer Dick LeBeau, right, as his defensive coordinator, and then as soon as he went away, we got the Tomlin cover 2.
Well, we like to sink back in cover 3 for a while. Don't forget, now we're cover 2, but for cover 3, where we just pulled everybody back
right,
complete everything underneath. Like, Vic Fangio does that too, but he also knows when to blitz. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, my gosh, man, you had the minister of Blitzburg, and you didn't listen to him. You're like, yeah, I know better. As soon as he left,
his defenses did start to decline though towards the end as well. Well, it's not like he was on top of his game and they got rid of him.
So did the players. Were getting older. You know what I mean? But I'm with you though, because his schemes, his Blitzburg, his modified 3-4 zone defense was kind of coming out of form and everything else like that, and I get it. Okay, but when he retired and then it was Mike Tomlin's defense, it was a whole different ballgame. Then it was the bend don't break. Then it was the the Tomlin cover 2, cover 3, whatever you got to call it, right?
Yeah, and then Tom Brady just started slicing through our defense. I mean, he was already pretty good at stopping cover cover three defenses, you would see him just throw a screen to Deion Branch, and our corner would fall over, and he'd just run it in for a touchdown. But like then when Mike Tomlin became the like number one voice on the defense, then it was 36-9, and it just, then it became a real actual problem, because once the at least before, like there were times they knocked Brady out of the game in the 0-1 AFC Championship game. Like they had opportunities, but then once he was
that wasn't
voice,
Tomlin.
No, that's what I mean though, is at least before.
Right? Look, what was really funny is watching him now on Sunday Night Football. Uh-huh.
Mike Tomlin, I'd say that's going to be fun. I like seeing Tomlin as a. I love it, man. I don't know what you're. I thought he was perfect for that. That's where I thought that he would head after the Steelers. Actually, his contract, if I'm not mistaken, has been, instead of front loaded, like a lot of contracts are with stuff, his contract's backloaded, which essentially keeps him staying in the booth for a little while, and I like it. I think his Tomlinisms and his fun personality, I think that translates really well to the broadcast booth, and with a guy that knows as much about football as he does, I think it's a perfect fit. The Tomlinisms are a lot easier to deal with whenever you didn't just get destroyed 30-0 and he's still trying to talk about them. That's no fun. I don't want to hear about drinking wine and squashing grapes after, like, Lamar Jackson just threw for 4 touchdowns on you. Like, stop it.
I watched Chuck Noll retire from football and completely step away from the game. Right. Didn't want to have anything to do with it. And then we saw Bill Cowher retired.
Pretty much the opposite.
Yeah, did the exact opposite. Got into now he was never, calling games or anything like that, but they brought him into CBS as, an analyst and whatever. And is
Mike Tomlin going to be calling games? I actually don't know.
I don't think so, no. He's taking over for Tony Dungy on Sunday Night Football.
Oh, thank God. That's perfect.
Well, and anyway, no comment on that either. And Bill has shined as the CBS desk, CBS NFL football every Sunday morning. It's Bill Cowher, and he's on, and his personality and the way he looks at the game and how he analyzes and everything else like that. Like, you can't teach that. Okay.
Him becoming a kind grandpa was not on my bingo card.
Right. Okay. And seeing that whole transition for him, I just never really was impressed enough with Tomlin's personality or his Tomlinisms, and then the fact that I had to listen to him for 15 years.
That's part of the video that I have coming up, where I'm like, I'm sure that the Tomlinisms and his personality, it rubs people the wrong way by this point, just because we've heard it for so long and we've heard every possible figure of speech he could possibly name by this point. But I think that what is it? Absence makes the heart grow fonder. I think with a little bit of distance, I think a lot of fans are going to come out of it and be like, he is pretty perfect for the role they put him in. I don't think he's going to come back to coaching. That's my prediction. I do not think he will, because I think that he stands to lose a lot more than he does to get. I think the odds of him just kind of not working out and kind of leaving after a couple of years are much higher than him coming to another organization and winning a second championship.
I don't think you're ever going to see Mike Tomlin coach again, because if you do, then you will absolutely, positively see his flaws.
I hear you. I think that he's a good floor raiser. I think you can definitely put him on we were saying the same thing about the Jet, or about Bill Cowher. Actually, it was actually the same kind of conversation, although for kind of different reasons. But they were both kind of floor raisers that when the Jets were looking for a head coach, and they kind of reached out to Bill Cowher like 10 years ago or whatever it was. And everybody's like, yeah, he might not win a Super Bowl, but he'd be a lot better than what you've been getting. So you can definitely stand to hire Tomlin for a role like that, certainly.
Yeah, but can you really afford to waste that kind of time, money, and effort on a tweener contract.
If you're a team like a bottom feeder team, I think that you would do a lot of good having Mike Tomlin as your coach.
But
if you're the Chiefs and Andy Reid just retired, no, absolutely not.
Yeah. Okay, all right. So you don't want him driving the Ferrari, but you'll give him the Cadillac. All right.
Sure. Yeah, why not?
I mean,
I really think that like Mike Tomlin could take the Jets to a 9-8 season. I truly, truly do believe that.
Well, okay. If he does, all right, cool. I don't think you're going to see him come back playing coaching anymore.
No,
because he would absolutely, utterly soil his legacy if he came back.
He's
to
a
coach.
Football junkie, though, man. He's a
I
total
get it.
junkie for the game.
I get it.
It's possible.
But I see him more doing what he's doing now, being more of like doing like what John Madden did. You know, John Madden had that personality. You know, he went to one Super Bowl. He was good at X's and O's. He was that, ceiling type of guy as well too. You know what I'm saying? He was a rah-rah guy as well. You know what I mean, right?
I don't know if this is going to make you angry by me saying it, but I'm going to say it anyway. Is that if Mike Tomlin had left the Steelers after, let's call it 2015, 2018, something like that, and he went to the booth before the giant playoff streak loss and all that, he'd probably have a pretty similar legacy.
Why would I get mad at that? Why would I get mad at that? I figured you'd disagree. I never wanted him to be coach of the Steelers to begin with, so the sooner he left, the better.
No, I think that he would have had John Madden, he didn't even have a lot of the stats that Belichick had in terms of winning games.
Because he only coached for 9 years.
Yes, exactly. You get my point.
Yeah, if he would have only coached for 9 years.
A little bit misleading.
If he had coached for 9 years, all right, see ya. Thanks, Mike. Go be your best self in the broadcast booth. Appreciate it. Thank you for taking us to a Super Bowl. Appreciate it, buddy. All right, cool. Get the heck out.
Took us to 2-1-1. We got the streak. It's clear that the defense is kind of at where it's at now that the player safety movement's gone and Dick LeBeau's gone and all that. Okay, all right, it might be. I thought the 2018 Jags loss was a good time for a reset, but and apparently even some minority owners of the Steelers wanted that after 2018, but
they surely did.
Overruled them and all that. I don't know much about this stuff. I feel like you do because you're more in the know.
And no, that's exactly what was going on. When your owner comes to you specifically, and it's known in the press that he's coming to you specifically saying, "Hey, Mike, we need to concentrate on the running game this year." And then the very next year, "Hey, Mike, we need to concentrate on the running game this year." And then the very next year, "Hey, Mike, we need to concentrate on the running game."
You're not going to believe this. Yeah, and but me and Steve were talking about that on the show. I think it's a big reason why we didn't do 5-star radio like last year. Was just what was there to talk about? It's just another year of trying to reestablish the run game and wondering about the quarterback position. It's like nobody wants to who wants to hear about that for the 6th year in a row, or whatever. At least now this year, like we're talking about starting radio back up, you, me, and him, and at least with that, like we have stuff to talk about this year.
Please, can we? Please, I've been chomping at the bit, man. Can we please? We got to have Steve on this show. Okay. Hello. Excuse me, Mr. Matchup. Hello.
Yeah, man. So it's gonna be an interesting year. I'm excited. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. I'm excited for the fact that we got a whole new coaching staff. We're gonna have all kinds of fun talking about Steelers this year, man, because it's all new, right? There's no Tomlinisms anymore now. There's no, grab your popcorn or whatever you want to call it. There's none of that no more now. Now we're gonna get a guy that's gonna come out there and dance around the truth and not answer questions very much, and then, all right, guys, we'll see you next week. Okay, what?
It was a little frustrating to your point about okay, this past week before the Jets game, they asked Mike McCarthy, who's going to be, can you tell us about the quarterback position this week? He goes, we're going with the young guys. And I was like, great. I know exactly who's going to be playing now.
Right. Like, thanks.
And it was like, and it wasn't, we're going to look at all of our options. We're going to survey our options. We're going to see who checks our best schematically. And
it wasn't cryptic. You didn't have to guess.
I really get coaches not wanting to give away information. I get that part, but there's just some things you just don't have to tap dance around.
I mean, injuries I get. Injuries you have to tap dance around that because the more you let on and I really like what the NHL does with injuries, right? I think I would really like to see the NFL adopt what the NHL does, right? So let's just say on some night during the game, you get hit with a puck, right? And it breaks your foot. Okay? So in the NHL, they're not going to say, Ron Mont, broken left foot, right? As the reason why you're going to miss the next 4 to 6 weeks, right? They're going to say, Ron Mont, lower body injury, out week to week. You see the difference.
I actually like that. I think I should do that.
Okay, so now you don't have everybody on the planet knows that Ron Mont has a broken foot. So in 6 weeks when he's back out there on the field, what are you going to be doing with your cleats? Stepping on my feet.
They try to do that. They try to do that with fighting. They try to keep injuries as DL as they possibly can. But that's, especially because you get into a cage. Hey, everybody knows your knee's been torn up. They're going to start kicking at you.
Okay, right? So I think the NFL's mandate of releasing specific injuries and things of that nature and blah, 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 blah. I mean, I understand being transparent, but injuries are medical, personal medical information. And why is it that a guy's broken foot has to be known to the world? Why can't you just say he's got a lower body injury? He's going to be out week to week. We'll see him in 5 or 6 weeks.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know.
I completely agree.
Right? Yeah. Because nobody knows your diagnosis. Nobody knows my diagnosis because that's personal information. Right?
I know that Ben's doctor had to get a whole separate filing cabinet for all of his injuries.
Okay, but why do we need to know? The league shouldn't know. All the rest of the players shouldn't know that Ron Mont broke his foot and he's going to be out, and that in week 7 or 8 when he does come back, hey, he had 3 pins put in that left foot. So there's surgery.
No, I agree.
You know what I mean, right? Like, come on. That's why I like what the NHL's doing. A guy that gets a concussion or whatever, that's an upper body injury. He's out undisclosed. That's how they list it.
It is funny that under HIPAA, you can't really discuss a lot of this kind of stuff when you're a professional athlete. Again, I know the different rules apply, but when you're a professional athlete, it's just broadcasted on the internet.
That's what I mean, right? Like, come on. They don't do that to regular, normal human beings. Of course, then again, regular, normal human beings have to go 8 weeks and go through physical therapy before they get an MRI, whereas as an athlete, they nick their fingernail. Oh, he's going in for an MRI today, and we'll get the results later today.
Yeah, and we'll just plaster it on Twitter, actually.
And I have to fight, pick, and scrape to get one, because I got my leg, it's all bent back around over here, and hey, I can't walk anymore, but go through some PT first, and then we'll get the MRI. Like, okay, all right, whatever. All right, so I think we got a good one here, Gage. I don't want to, go too much longer on this. I'm cautiously optimistic. We're definitely going to have a lot of new things to talk about this year, that's for sure, with new coaching staff and things of that nature. So Gage, why don't you tell the folks where we can find all the great stuff that you're doing outside of this, and also this as well too.
You can find my Yu-Gi-Oh content at Gage Ryan, or I think it's Gage Ryan Video, actually. You can find my MMA content at Contender MMA, and you can find myself, Ron, Frayne, Steve, and everybody else for all of our Steeler content you can't find here at 5-Star Matchup. And that's going to be starting up here and again in a week or two, so subscribe to our Patreon.
Hello, get on over there. $4 or $7 a month, man. Can't afford to not to do that, right? Hop on over there and
4
hopefully
or 7. You got 2 tiers.
Hopefully, we'll be able to do some radio shows this year with the
Yes.
5-Star and get him on this show more because we had him on last year once. So, all right.
Busy man.
I know. But thank you all very much for tuning in and checking us out, man. We really appreciate it. Please hit the like and subscribe. You can catch me on X at RNJ_media, and you can catch all the stuff we're doing on the YouTube page, the Huddle, a Black and Gold podcast. We will catch you all on the next one.